And if you look at electricity production, you can say like AI is a function of whatever the limiting factor is, if it's chips or electricity. China has far more electricity than the United States. In fact, China has more electricity than the United States, Europe, and India combined already, and is heading to, my guess is China gets to 4 times the electricity production of the U.S.
United States frontier models, our frontier models are unquestionably world-class. We are probably, call it 6 months ahead. However, out of the 1.4 million models, most of them are open source. China is well ahead, way ahead on open source.
两位硅谷顶级狂人马斯克和黄仁勋，他们私底下是怎么评估中国的实力的？马斯克说 ，AI 的终局根本不是芯片，而是电力。而黄仁勋则用一个极其残酷的5层蛋糕理论，直接把美国在高科技领域的短板包得一丝不挂。当这两人把中美在能源、基建和工程师文化上的差距摆在台面上时，你会发现，所谓的芯片落后，在庞大的国家系统面前，不过是一层随时会被捅破的窗户纸。
How do you think about the Chinese models and the geopolitics of it? Are you worried about the Chinese catching up and getting ahead?
Given that the Chinese AI companies are doing as well as they are with a relatively small amount of compute, it seems though that if they had a lot of compute, there's a good chance that they would be the leaders. And at some point, they probably will have a lot of compute.
So they will be the leaders.
There's a good chance that they are the leaders at some point. You can think of like the constraints on AI are essentially electricity and AI chips. And then for physical AI, the robots. China's also got some very good robot companies. In fact, they have these like robot sporting events. I don't know if you've seen some of them.
Yes, I have. I saw them last time I was in Beijing. I saw the robots.
Well, and then they have the sort of like a boxing match or a fighting match with the robots, which is quite entertaining. And I saw some video of a robot that got his head knocked off, kept fighting, even with his head knocked off. It looked pretty funny. But I mean, in fact, I think the robot battles are going to be quite entertaining to watch.
But just
so China's very strong on robots, very strong on digital AI, and if you look at electricity production, you can say like AI is a function of whatever the limiting factor is, if it's chips or electricity. China has far more electricity than the United States. In fact, China has more electricity than the United States, Europe, and India combined already, and is heading to, and my guess is China gets to 4 times the electricity production of the U.S., which is roughly proportionate to the population.
What should the U.S. government do about this? I mean, if you presumably it is a little alarming if you have an authoritarian regime far ahead in the most powerful technology. And clearly what the U.S. government's been trying to do is, with the export controls and so forth, keep China back. Do you think they should ban the use of K3, Kimi K3, for example?
Well, the U.S. government can't. They can pass some law that prevents U.S. companies from using Chinese models, but they can't stop the rest of the world from using them. So it's not like the U.S. government has authority over China or the rest of the world.
Do you think they should stop U.S. companies from using them? There's talk of that right now, right?
I don't think that helps. That won't stop China from being the leader in AI. Really, it's for digital intelligence. It comes down to how much AI compute do you have? How many chips do you have, and how much power do you have? How much electricity do you have? So the constraint right now, I think, is actually slightly more on power and cooling than it is on AI chips, because the power demands of the AI chips are very, very high. We'll talk about water demands, but really the water usage of AI is negligible, or almost nothing. But the electrical demand is very high.
That's why you're thinking of orbital data centers, presumably.
Yes, the constraint for any AI chips not being turned on in China is electricity and like power and cooling, and the electrical equipment and everything. The rate at which AI chips are being made exceeds the rate at which new electricity is coming online.
In China?
Outside of China.
Outside China, I see, yeah.
And since China, the U.S. has banned the export of the latest AI chips to China, China is somewhat chip-starved.
But they are becoming much more efficient at using the chips that they have, and that one of the striking things of Kimi K3, right, is how efficiently they...
And China is also, I think, closer than most people realize to solving the lithography problem, which would enable them to make AI chips at very large volumes. So I think there's, I mean, this shouldn't devolve into just a China conversation, but so the current constraint is electricity outside of China. In China, the constraint is chips. Once we address the power constraint with AI data centers in space, then the constraint will once again be chips outside of China.
That suggests to me that you need China and the US, if you're going to have some overall safety constraints, that they will need to work together. If you are going to try and, I mean, you suggested, the 5 model makers here working.
Probably it should include the Chinese companies that are doing frontier AI models too.
And do you think governments need to be involved?
My recommendation would be that if some of the leading companies in AI say that a new model is very dangerous, then they should inform the government. And a new model is very dangerous, and that the company producing that model is not taking steps to address the danger, then they should alert the government to take action to limit the release of that model. And that could be action by the Chinese government or action by the U.S. government. It's really just the U.S. government and the Chinese government that have the power to take action here.
So you'd have a system where the model makers would check each other's work. If there was something that worried them, you'd tell the government.
Yeah.
The government would then take action.
If there's something that was worrisome and that company was not doing anything to address that risk, then that would be the moment for government to step in and take action.
听到没？能源差1倍，基建速度差了100倍，而且整个社会80%的人都在拥抱 AI。老黄把这本账算得太清楚了。当美国老百姓还在像看科幻恐怖片一样害怕 AI 抢饭碗的时候，中国人已经把 AI 当成工具，开始疯狂地优化整个社会的生产效率了。有人可能会说，那我们在最顶尖的芯片制造上还是落后啊。别急，接下来老黄的这段话才真正说出了让西方感到战栗的核心。他没有去嘲笑中国的落后，反而用了2个词来形容中国这台庞大的工业机器，充满渴望和纳秒。中国为什么能用这么短的时间把不可逾越的鸿沟压缩到肉眼不可见的级别？答案就藏在无数个被西方不解甚至嘲讽的996里。
Competition. Are we really losing?
It was a very good headline.
It was a great headline, yeah.
And it apparently caught a lot of attention. As you know, with headlines, the disclaimer part, the foundation part, was left out of the headline. But the way to think about that is that let me just handicap it right now. If you look at AI and go back to the first thing that we said, AI is a 5-layer cake. Let's just always simplify. It's not quite this simplistic, but let's simplify AI into a 5-layer cake. Energy, chips, infrastructure, models, and applications. Okay? And let's handicap it across from bottom to top. At the lowest level, energy, China has twice the amount of energy we have as a nation.
I want to ask about that.
Twice as much energy as we have as a nation, and our economy is larger than theirs. Makes no sense to me. We also know that one of the most important initiatives, one of the most important policies of this administration, and there was the first thing that President Trump said to me when we met, is, listen, we need to reindustrialize America. We need to onshore manufacturing again. We need to help America make things again. It's going to create jobs. That part of the economy has been offshored and completely gutted the United States. We need to bring that back, and he needs my help to do so. And so that entire sector of the economy is missing. And however, without energy, how do we build chip plants, computer system plants, and these AI data centers? We call them AI factories. We're building simultaneously 3 different types of factories in the United States: chip factories, supercomputer factories, and AI factories. They all require energy, every single one of them.
Yeah.
And so on the one hand, we want to reindustrialize the United States. How do you do that without energy? And so the fact that we vilified energy for so long, President Trump sticking his neck out and taking it on the chin and helping the country realize that energy is necessary for our growth is one of one of the greatest things he's done right off the bat. And so now, at the energy level, back to that stack, we're, 50%. And they're growing straight up. We're kind of flat right now. And so, number one, energy. Number two, chips. We're generations ahead. We are generations ahead on chips. And I think everybody recognizes that. Number three, infrastructure. If you want to build a data center here in the United States, from breaking ground to standing up a AI supercomputer is probably about 3 years. They can build a hospital in a weekend. That's a real challenge. And so at the infrastructure layer, their velocity of building things, because they are builders, their velocity of building things is extraordinarily high. Now, really quickly on chips, we're several generations ahead, but don't be complacent. Remember, semiconductors is a manufacturing process. Anybody who thinks China can't manufacture is missing a big idea.
But China discounts energy costs for a chip company by 50%.
That's right.
They provide free transportation for employees to come out to the factory.
That's right.
I mean, you can't do that. I mean,
our energy cost is more expensive than theirs in the first place.
Absolutely.
And then they discounted 50%. And so we're probably call it 4 to 8 times the cost.
So tell me, how do you feel about this great competition with China? I mean, the government is putting enormous resources underneath their champion. We don't do that in this country. How do you feel about that?
Well, before I get there, don't let me not answer that question. I'm dying to answer it. But let me handicap the next 2 layers. The model layer, United States frontier models, our frontier models are unquestionably world-class. We are probably, call it 6 months ahead. However, out of the 1.4 million models, most of them are open source. China is well ahead, way ahead on open source. Now, the reason why open source is so important is because without open source, startups can't thrive, university researchers can't do research, you can't teach AI, scientists can't use AI. Basically, all of the industry around your economy have no ability to fundamentally advance themselves unless you have open source. Without Linux, where would we be? Without Kubernetes, without PyTorch, all of these different types of technologies that made AI thrive are all open source. They are well ahead of us on open source. And then the layer above that, applications. If you were to do a poll of their society and ours, and you ask them, is AI likely to do more good than harm? They're going to say, in their case, 80% would say AI will do more good than harm. In our case, it'd be the other way around. And so that tells you something that's very, very important. Socially, we need to be careful not to describe AI in these science fiction movie ways of describing AI and causing people so much concern. We want to be concerned, but we also want to be practical. AI is about automation. And that area, I think that we need to be careful not to fall behind in the application and the diffusion of AI, because in the end, whoever applies the technology first and most wins that industrial revolution. As you know, electricity was invented in the UK, but the United States applied it faster, more broadly, and as a result, look where we are. And so we have to be a little mindful.
We have a competitive relationship with China. We should acknowledge that China rightfully should want their companies to do well. I don't for a second begrudge them for that. They should do well. They should give them as much support as they like. It's all their prerogative. And don't forget that China has some of the best entrepreneurs in the world because they came from some of the best STEM schools in the world. They're the most hungry in the world.
Yes.
996, as you know. This is a very...
Producing the most AI engineers in the world.
996, so the audience knows, 9 in the morning to 9 at night, 6 days a week. That is their culture. Okay? We're up against a formidable, innovative, hungry, fast-moving, under-regulated. Okay? People don't realize this. They are very lightly regulated.
Right. Less regulated, ironically, than we are in a capitalist system.
That's right. People think that they're centrally governed, but remember, the genius of China was distributed economic systems. And so all of these 33 provinces and all the mayor economy has driven enormous amount of internal competition, internal economic vibrancy, which of course has some of its side effects, but this is a vibrant, entrepreneurial, high-tech, modern industry. And some of the things I heard, they could never build AI chips. That just sounded insane. 2, that China can't manufacture. China can't manufacture? If there's one thing they could do is manufacture. 3, they're years behind us. Is it 2 years, 3 years? Come on, they're nanoseconds behind us.
Nanoseconds.
Yeah, they're nanoseconds behind us. And so we've got to go compete. We've got to go compete. And so the question then becomes, what's in the best interest? What's in the best interest of China, of course, is that they have a vibrant industry. They also publicly say, and rightfully, I believe they believe this, is that they want China to be an open market. They want to attract foreign investment. They want companies to come to China and compete in the marketplace. And I believe that I hope that would return to that in our context, answering your question, what do I see in the future? I do hope, because they say it, their leaders say it, and I take it at face value, and I believe it because I think it makes sense for China, that what's in the best interest of China is for foreign companies to invest in China, compete in China, and for them to also have vibrant competition themselves. And they would also like to come out of China and participate around the world. That is, I think, is a fairly sensible outcome. And what we need to do as a country is to enable our technology industry, which today is I'm privileged to be working in an industry that is our national treasure. We have to acknowledge it is our national treasure. It is our best industry. It is our single best industry. Why would we not allow this industry to go compete for its survival? For this industry to go and proliferate the technology around the world so that we could have the world be built on top of American technology, so that we can maximize our economic success, maximize our geopolitical influence, maximize this technology industry during such a vibrant time, such a pivotal time, to allow it to thrive.
The skeptic says, Jensen just wants to sell more chips, and if he can sell them to China, great, he'll sell them to China. He doesn't care about, what that means for America. That's the skeptic. Now,
can I just address the skeptics? Just because I want America ecosystem and economy to grow, it doesn't make me wrong.
Right.
Okay. So first of all, everything that has been said so far, that's been made up so far about China has proven to be wrong. The facts are just wrong. The ground truth is wrong. And so just because we want America to win, just because we want this industry to grow, doesn't make me wrong.
看完这两位大佬的对谈，不知道大家在茶水间里品出了什么味道。在阿星看来，这不仅仅是对中国实力的肯定，更是对那个正在陷入僵化和内耗的西方体制下达的一份病危通知书。站在历史的宏观视角来看，这千万个放弃了休息，在实验室和车间里拼命敲代码、画图纸的工程师，用一代人的青春，硬生生地把咱们国家从科技的荒漠托举到了和美国只差那秒的决战舞台上。这种刻在骨子里的拼劲和对改变命运的极度渴望，是任何习惯了周末去度假、修条高铁要花几十年的西方社会永远也无法理解的。马斯克说 AI 的尽头是电力，老黄说 AI 的基础是能源和基建。 这就叫做大国博弈的底层逻辑。当美国还在沾沾自喜于他们在芯片设计上那6个月的先发优势时，中国早就已经在牌桌下把发电站、特高压电网以及像怪物一样的超级工厂建好了。一旦中国的光刻机取得突破，哪怕只是性能稍微落后一点点，但凭借着便宜1半的电费、几千家企业的残酷内卷以及完全拥抱开源的生态，这台名为中国制造的压路机会瞬间把美国那点可怜的壁垒碾得粉碎。这就是历史的车轮。他不相信政客的选票，也不相信媒体的口水，他只相信谁在实打实的搞建设，谁拥有最庞大的聪明且勤奋的大脑。那些还在迷信美国不可战胜，甚至天天在网上唱衰自己国家的人，真的该醒醒了。连身处金字塔尖的美国大佬都在呼吁必须面对现实。如果我们自己还看不清手里的底牌，那岂不是太可悲了？好了，今天茶水间的这场科技巅峰局就拆解到这里。你觉得中美在 AI 领域的差距真的只有那秒了吗？欢迎在评论区留下你清醒的见解，点个赞，关注阿欣的茶水间，让我们在这个飞速变化的时代一起保持最笃定的自信。下期见。